Tov, we're going to dedicate this class again to the refuah of Chaya Rachel Dvora Bat Leah, and the Ilui Nishmat of the baby who passed away, the Tinok ben Chaya Rachel Dvora, and also for the elevation of the soul of Binyamin ben Chana. And refuah shema leEsther bat Rachel. If you want a comfortable couch, you can drag from over there. No? Okay. Tov, so this is our last class before spring break, and we're very close to Purim. Last class about Purim, I mentioned the 4 mitzvot that the Haggadah hints to us that are the secret weapon of bringing the Geulah, bringing the redemption. The 4 mitzvot of Purim are actually 5, but the 4 mitzvot, we call them the 4 mems, the 4 mitzvot that start with the letter mem. The first one is Mikra Megillah, which in the last class we mentioned has it corresponds and hints on learning Torah. The second one is Mishloach Manot, is sending the gifts, the food baskets. The third one is Matanot Le'Evyonim, charity for poor people. And the last one is Mishteh V'Simcha, feast and Simcha, being happy. These are the 4 mitzvot that we have to do on Purim, which actually, when you take out of it the hint of the 4 mitzvot that hastens the redemption, it's actually 5, because the last one is a mishteh, is a meal, and simcha, which corresponds to observing Shabbat and serving Hashem b'simcha. So really we have 5 mitzvot that if we concentrate on, and if we put our minds to, the Megillah, the Megillah that we read on Purim, it hints to us this is our secret weapon to get ourselves out of this exile, out of our personal exile and out of our general exile that we're in. So the first mitzvah, it's pretty obvious, doesn't need to explain too much. Learning Torah. Again, the mitzvah of Purim is Mikra Megillah, reading the Megillah, but in regards to us, because we only read the Megillah once a year, how do I apply it to the rest of the days of the year? By learning Torah. That's pretty obvious, it's simple, don't need to talk about it too much. You open a book and you read. And women have to learn Torah too, even though men have the obligation, but women have to learn Torah too. That's simple. The last mitzvah is also pretty self-explanatory. In Purim, you do a mishteh, you do a seudah, and in regards to the rest of the year, it corresponds to the seudot, to the meals we do on Shabbat. That's pretty obvious. I have to keep Shabbat. Don't need too much explanations here. And from that, when it says mishteh and simcha, simcha, that's pretty simple. But the middle two, one of them is acts of charity, which again, that's also a pretty simple mitzvah. You don't need to explain it too much. But then I'm stuck with the middle mitzvah, that is Mishloach Manot. And on Purim, it's easy. I put a bag, I take a few treats, and I wrap it up nice, and I give it to my friends. Even though to most people it's a very easy mitzvah, some people it's hard for them. It costs a lot of money, and you want to make sure it's nice. But when I want to take this mitzvah for the rest of the year, because I mentioned in the last class that these 4 mitzvot of Purim is I need to apply them every day of my life. And these are the secrets how I can pull myself out of my own exile. So there are 2 mitzvot there that are a little bit difficult to relate with. Not to relate, but to actually do it. So to learn Torah, that's I understand. To keep Shabbat, I understand. To give charity or do acts of charity, fine. But then I'm left with 2 mitzvot that are a little bit harder to apply. The first one is Mishloach Manot, which on Purim it's easy, I just give a basket of fruit. But during the rest of the days of the year, the mitzvah here is Ahavat Israel, is to love another person without conditions. This is a hard mitzvah. The second one that is a little bit hard to apply is the last one, is serving Hashem b'simcha. These are two things that I understand, but now to bring it into action is hard. And every mitzvah that our sages told us to do, there's a reason why they told us to do it. They didn't sit there in the Sanhedrin, in the courthouse, in the Beit HaMikdash, and said, okay, let's see how we're going to annoy them today. They didn't do that. They sat there, these brilliant minds, these holy people, and they said, let's see how we can make their life better, how we can refine their souls, how we can elevate ourselves. And that's how they start deriving all these mitzvot. I'm not talking about clear mitzvot from the Torah. The Torah says you have to keep Shabbat. The Torah says you can't steal. But the Torah also says that we have to serve Hashem b'simcha. And actually, a lot of the judgment that will go against a person when chas v'shalom he fails in a sin is not if the person did the sin, is if the person served Hashem b'simcha. And it says in the Torah, "Ekev asher lo avata et Hashem b'simcha u'betuv levav." The prosecution, so to say, the judgment goes against a person, not if he did a sin, if he didn't serve Hashem b'simcha. So these two mitzvot are a little bit harder to apply. To learn Torah, I know it's not the easiest, but I can find the 10 minutes, the half an hour a day to learn Torah. Okay, I got that out of the way. The more the better. Shabbat, it's again not the easiest thing, but I still need to do it. But when it comes to Ahavat Israel, to tolerate another human being, or to serve Hashem b'simcha, that's a little bit harder to apply in my day-to-day life. And this is what I want to talk about, because the preparation for Purim is to understand what I can achieve on that day. I have a Black Friday, a sale once a year. I can tap into a certain power, and with that certain power I can derive something out of it. I can benefit something from that day, from the 24 hours of Purim, the 48 hours that I connect myself. I can derive something out of it. And I want to apply these things in my life. I want to apply all these 5 mitzvot on a daily basis to make sure that I am able to pull myself out of my own exile, my own struggles and my own challenges. Needless to say, I want to contribute to the general exile and to get everybody out of exile. So how do I apply these 2 mitzvot that are, so to say, almost impossible to do? Because if things go bad, how can I be happy? I have so many problems. How can I serve Hashem with a smile on my face? That's asking a little bit too much. Or you're asking me to tolerate every human being with no conditions, even if they're extremely annoying, or if they did something to me? How do you want me to like another person? I like my friends, and I like my family, and I'll tolerate people that are nice. But I'm required to like and to appreciate and to accept another person when I disagree with that person, and I don't like what they're doing, and I don't like their acts and their behavior. So it's 2 requests that are very hard to apply. And this is where my stumble block is. Because, yeah, I will have challenges with observing Shabbat and learning Torah and giving charity. I'm not saying that is easy, but that's much easier to apply. But to come to start applying these 2, that's a much bigger challenge. And both of them are prevented by one thing. And that one thing is called an ego. When I have an ego, and we all have an ego because we were born with it, this is called our yeshut. The yeshut means my selfness, my something, I'm something. That will stop me from accepting another person, and that will stop me from serving Hashem with happiness. Now, to kind of break them into 2, even though they're connected. So first of all, in regards to serving Hashem with happiness, if I have an ego, means that I think that I deserve everything, and I deserve this and I deserve that, then when things don't work my way, I get disappointed, and then like a little kid, then I frown or I get upset. The other day, my young boy came, he said he wanted something, his watch broke, he said, Abba, give me money. Give me money? Does it say here ATM? What do you mean give me money? What do you need money for? I need a new watch, I broke my watch. I told him, you broke the watch, so you have to work for it. I'm not just donating to you a watch every 2 days. And of course he got upset, he's a little boy. Wow, and he started getting all hyped up, making like a tantrum, like a little kid. And I told him, in life, you don't always get what you want. And sometimes you break the watch. Sometimes you do it. I did not tell you to break the watch. Now, if you would chas v'shalom slip and fall, and an accident will happen, fine. But you broke it. You were reckless, you were irresponsible, and you broke it. Now you're coming and you're expecting me to fix it? Take responsibility. I don't care if you're 7 years old. Take responsibility. So unfortunately in life, sometimes I break my watch. I do something. I do a certain act, and now I'm dealing with the loss of something, whether it's loss of parnasa, or a problem with health, or a fight in a relationship, something. And then I come and complain to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Why is it happening? Hashem says, I didn't do anything. You did it. You damaged it. Don't come and complain right now. Now, the thing is that we're not looking here who to blame or what to blame. That's not the point. The point is when some things don't work out for me, it's not about who's at fault here. That's the problem with a lot of people, is something doesn't go well. They lost money, or they don't have money, or a financial stress happens, or a health problem, whatever it is. We deal with these challenges every day. The point is not to point the finger whose fault it is. That's what many people do. Oh, this is happening now because you said this, and this is happening because you did that. We don't know why things are happening. There's no way to find out. It's a mistake to point and say, this right now happened because you did that. Nobody has the authority or the ability to know why it happens. It happens because that's the ratzon of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's not about finding whose fault it is. It's accepting it, that that's the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And if I accept that that's the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, then I'm able to rise myself above the problem. If I don't accept that it's the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, then that's where I have a problem. That's where I start complaining. You want to say something?
Yeah, so where do you find that line? I know it's an extreme situation, but like a husband that beats a wife, is that the will of Hashem?
No. The fine line is where you go by the guidelines of the Torah. The Torah prohibits a man to hit his wife. And the Torah prohibits anyone to hit anybody. So when it goes over the guidelines of the Torah, then it's not the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now again, this is a very fine line, because a person who finds himself in the situation, a woman finds herself in a situation, chas v'shalom, her husband hits her. She can't just say, okay, that's the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, let me accept the beating. No, this is the line where you draw and says, no, it's not the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now, the question here will be not what for her to do. The question her to be if she will fall into sadness and depression because that is the situation. It's not the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu that for the husband to hit her. But if she now falls into depression or sadness, or it will prevent her from doing a mitzvah by saying it's not fair, that's the fine line that she says, okay, that should not affect me now from doing a mitzvah. I understand it's not a simple situation, that a woman does not have the cheshek, the strength now to do a mitzvah. That's not the point. The point is first of all, every situation has to be analyzed according to the situation. Now I'm talking in a very general way that we deal with a challenge every day. Today I got a very high bill, I don't have money to pay it. Tomorrow I have a fight with my spouse. The next day I'm sick. The following day somebody bumps into my car. All day long we're dealing with these challenges.
Wait, one thing, sorry, last thing. If all these things are coming about from like knowing circumstance, like let's say there's a lot of financial problems, so all the financial problems, I don't know, I think of a man being responsible for the financial. So if the wife is getting sick, it's not, you can't just blame, say, oh, it's.
Blaming is not good in any situation, because blaming is not going to solve the problem. The problem is, I'll give you a scenario, because you mentioned a husband and wife and financial problems. Imagine now a couple that have financial problems. If now the wife is going to point at the man and says, it's your fault because you didn't pray, or you didn't learn Torah, or you didn't give charity, or you did a certain sin, or you didn't go to apply for a job, that's not going to solve the problem. It's just going to create a fight. The man can turn the argument around and say, oh, you know what? It says that the bracha in the home is coming from the woman. So it's your fault. You're not praying. You're not giving charity. You did a sin. Now you're causing the bracha not to be in the home. This argument is only going to cause a fight. It's not going to cause a solution. So in our life, to find the problem is important. But to put a blaming finger, that's not solving the problem. The other day, I had a certain situation, and the individual kept saying, we have to find the problem. I told him, it doesn't matter the problem. Let's find the solution. The problem, we know the problem. And why it happened, that we'll figure out later. First, you find the solution. When there's a fire, first comes the fire department. Only after the fire, the inspectors come to start investigating why was a fire. Imagine it was the other way around. Imagine the investigators are coming, okay, let's see why there's a fire here. The house is burning, turn off the fire first. Then investigate why was the fire. So to blame in any situation is the worst thing to do. When I blame somebody, oh, it's because of you, that now I'm causing an argument. And I'm causing now that person, instead of being initiative and doing something, to move back, oh, now I'm at fault. So in a situation like you said, a financial stress, to start blaming, it's your fault, that is not going to bring a solution. It's just going to make it worse, because now you bring already a fight. And then the two parties, if it's the husband that is being blamed, that he's not bringing parnasah, because whatever reason, now he says, okay, now I don't have the energy to go and look for a job. Now, a woman can make the husband this big now and break his spirit completely by saying, it's you not bringing parnasah. And could be that he's like, I'm trying my best, I'm doing whatever I can. It has nothing to do with me. But that's why, that's why I said before that every situation has to be looked specifically, because in some cases it is the problem and the fault of the husband being lazy, and he just doesn't want to go and work. Then it's something else. But again, it doesn't mean that the wife has to come and point the finger. That might not make the situation better. In life, the advice is not to be right, rather to be smart. And if I, for example, know of a situation, let's say, assume just for the sake of the example, the wife knows the husband is lazy. And she knows he can get off his couch and go and find a job. But by her attacking him, that's not going to make him go look for a job. It's not going to do anything. She has to be smart, not right. If she's going to come and present the situation, I'm right, you're lazy, that's not going to make him run to find a job. She has to be smart by saying, wait, let me see how I'm going to, so to say, manipulate the situation to encourage him to go and find a job. So a smart woman in that specific case, and it can be presented the other way around, if you do it the smart way, you get a solution. If you do it by being right, you're not going to get a solution, you're going to get an argument. But the point is not to dissect now every situation. The point to take from it that everything that happens to me, there's a reason for that, and in most cases that's the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now I'm not talking about right now that I'm a bum and I don't have money and now I have financial problems. There it's very clear that I was lazy, I did not go to work, and therefore I'm in financial stress right now. But if I did an effort and I went to all the places to file my application, and I was on the paper 2 hours every day calling for a job, and I woke up early in the morning and I applied myself and I did everything that I could and I still can't find a job, that's already the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and this is where I'm presented with my test, if I will still accept this bitter decree. So now I want to talk in a very general way. I can tell you again, let's say with Shlom Bayit, with fighting a couple that have a problem with Shlom Bayit. If all day long I just threw more oil into the fire, then that's not me trying. If I try and I'm patient and I try to talk to my wife and we, I don't know, go to a marriage counselor or whatever, and we do a lot of efforts and we still have marital problems, then that's already, I can dissect and say, okay, that's the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. I did everything I could. I'm being patient, I'm working on myself, I shut up every time I want to say a comment, and I'm doing everything that my rabbi told me or my marriage counselor told me, and we're trying to work and we still, it doesn't work out, then at least I say I did an effort. So we have to distinguish between the times that I put a lot of effort and I still don't get a result, and the times that I didn't put an effort and I got the exact same result. The point here is not to right now to psychoanalyze the situation, is rather to come from a completely different angle to understand that doesn't matter right now if I did an effort, I didn't put an effort, it's the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's I did something and I'm getting now chas v'shalom a reaction. This is the analyzing it. We're not talking right now analyzing it. Analyzing it is important. I'm talking about how I keep my smile on my face. That's the problem right now. Analyzing the situation, that's a whole different topic. Right now I want to understand how the Torah is expecting from me to keep a smile on my face when I'm facing a challenge. What the Torah tells me, "Ekev asher lo avatem et Hashem besimcha ubetuv levav," I'm going to be now held accountable that I wasn't happy. So the Torah is basically telling me, you have a $10,000 debt, smile, it's only 10,000, it's not 50,000. So in any situation that I'm being placed, I'm not talking about being happy in a good situation. I just got engaged, I just had a baby child, I just bought a new home. That's easy being happy. The Torah tells me be happy when you have a debt, or when you have a problem, or when chas v'shalom a sickness, or when something bad happens, you still have to be happy. That I want to understand, how does the Torah request me to be happy when I'm dealing with challenges. I'm not right now dealing with the solution to the challenge. I'm dealing with right now I want to know, how does the Torah expect me to be happy? Because we presented two problems. How can I be happy when my life is hard? And how can I tolerate other people? So even though it seems two separate things, they boil down to the same thing, that I think that I deserve something else. And this comes from my ego. And ego, you know, might not be the perfect word for it, but in Hebrew it's called yeshut, my selfness, my metziut, my existence. The closest word in English is an ego. I have an ego. Now, one might say, what are you talking about? I have financial problems. I have problems with my relationship with my wife. My kid is sick. My landlord wants to throw me out. My car was repossessed. Whatever. What is that got to do with my ego that I'm not happy? Why are you telling me because I have an ego I'm not happy? I have problems. I have serious problems. So the answer is yes, you're not happy because of the ego. Because if you wouldn't have an ego, you would be like, okay, it means that I'm not supposed to have a car. And it means that I have to work on my midot if I'm not getting along with my wife. And it means that maybe I'm not serving Hashem 100%, or whatever it is. Maybe my son, chas v'shalom, has to go through some type of a sickness, and Hashem just wants me to pray more. So the ego is the wall that stops me from accepting the reality. And has nothing to do with right now if the reality is real or not. Because a lot of people say, yes, I have a very good reason to be not happy. But it has nothing to do with the reason. The reason is that's the path that I'm going on. Our life is like a script, and in the script, sometimes I have good days, sometimes I have bad days. That's how the script is. The rhythm of life is up and down, and up and down, and up and down. Like a patient that you put in a hospital in a monitor, you see that the heart goes up and down. And if chas v'shalom the line stops going up and down. When it's a flat line, then the person is dead. So the rhythm of life is one time you up and one time you down. That's the rhythm of life. And when this up and down, it can be a year that you up and a year that you down. It doesn't mean that a day in, a day out. Sometimes, yeah, you have a year or 2 years of a very hard time. And that's the down. Then comes the up, then the down, then the up. The point to take from it that it has nothing to do with me. I'm now being, yes, I would say that a portion of it can be relating to me. I have to make an assessment. If I see that I'm doing everything according to what I'm supposed to do, I keep Shabbat, I eat kosher, I follow the Torah, I learn Torah, I give charity, I'm doing the basics, then I can say, okay, I did my part. I can't point on any sin that will cause a flat tire or a depletion of the air, that the air goes out. I can't point. If I can say, listen, I know I talk a lot of Lashon Hara. Okay, I can understand. If you have now a bucket full of water and on the bottom has a hole and water is coming out and I'm pouring in water and the water is coming out, obviously there's a hole. I have to stop it. So if things are going bad in my life, needless to say, I have to make right away an analogy. Maybe I'm talking Lashon Hara, maybe I'm stealing, maybe I did gezel, maybe I owe somebody money, maybe I'm doing something. I have to make an analogy. But assuming that I finish the analogy, I have to accept the situation. And the reason why I said that the ego is the one that stops me from being happy, because if right now I have to suffer a financial loss, for whatever reason, doesn't matter if I did a sin, doesn't matter if I lied, I stole, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if I didn't do anything. Right now, the heavenly decree, the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu is that I have to lose money now. Somebody bumps into my car, I got a ticket, whatever it is. Does it going to change the situation if I'm sad or if I'm happy? It's not. It's not going to help the situation if I'm sad. That's why the Torah tells me one has nothing to do with the other. The fact that right now you're going through a tough period, that's one thing. Being happy or being sad, that's a different thing. You should be happy with whatever you have. That's why it says, Ezu Ashir Sameach Bechelko. Who is the rich person? The one that is happy with what he has. So sometimes I have a lot, sometimes I don't have a lot. One has nothing to do with the other. Now connecting it to the fact that how can I tolerate another person, that totally comes from the exact same place. Why I can't stand another person? Because he has a different opinion than me. And why I can't accept that other person? Because he doesn't agree with my opinion, or he doesn't do what I say. So here it's obvious how it boils down to my ego, to my selfness. I can't stand that person. Why? Because he thinks different than me, or he said something against me. So these two things are connected to each other. A lot of our hardship, it comes from a lack of Ahavat Israel. So both of them are connected together, and they all boil down to the same thing that is called an ego. Now what is the solution? If I have a big ego, and a lot of people mistaken the concept when I say a big ego, people think a big ego is a person that walks in the street and says, oh, I'm so great. That's not a big ego. That is, but that's not what I'm talking about. The ego is the fact that I think that I deserve to be respected by that person. If he doesn't respect me, I don't like him. And I think that this business deal that I do should bring me a lot of money, and I start developing all sorts of imaginations that are far away from the reality. That is the ego, that I think that I control the situation. When I think that I'm in control of the situation, that's the first sign that my ego is out of control, because I have zero control on any situation. I'm literally controlled from the moment that I'm waking up to the second that I go to sleep. I have no control. I'm required to do certain things. I'm required to do hishtadlut, an effort, and I'm required to accept sorry, and I'm required to accept the failure. Some people think that when they have success, it's their success. My success has nothing to do with me. If I make money in business, it has nothing to do with my qualifications. That's only because the Kadosh Baruch Hu decided for me to get money. And if I fail in something, it has nothing to do with me. The success and the failure is attributed to God. What has to do with me is the effort that I put into the act. If I succeeded or not, it has nothing to do with me. I can put a lot of effort into a business deal, into a relationship, into an idea. Whether it's going to be successful or not, that has only to do with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Now, if I feed my ego, then my ego will tell me the outcome is depending on you. That's the mistake. The outcome is not depending on me. I'm just required to put effort. If it's Shlom Bayit, I have to put effort in respecting my wife and listening to her and helping her and working on myself. If she tells me you do A, B, and C, is to work on myself. I have to do an effort. The result is up to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the same in business, it's the same in chinuch, of educating my kids, it's in everything. And the ego is the force that will come to convince me that I have control over the situation or over the matter. I do not have control. If it has to do with the sickness, I can look to see if I did something. Maybe I did something. Because if I neglect a certain situation, that might bring a sickness on me. The thing is that, specifically when it comes to sickness, the ego is the part that makes the person sick. Because a person that has a lot of Ahavat Israel, accepting any other person with no conditions, what would be the motion, the physical motion? It will be a motion like that. Hey! You open your hands. You know what happens when you open your hands? Then all the negative inside goes out because you make a motion that you open. Everything goes out. And what's the motion of Chas v'Shalom, the opposite of Ahavat Israel? You don't do it, but you... When I'm upset with you, I sit like this. I lock myself up. What do? I keep all the junk inside. So Ahavat Israel is not about me now coming and picking up an old person in the street and helping them cross the street. That's a nice act. But Ahavat Israel is me opening myself up. Basically making room for everybody around me, and that can only be done if I humble myself. I cannot accept a person. A lot of people mistaken the term Ahavat Israel. They think Ahavat Israel is me now going and saying, do you help with your shopping? I'll carry your bags. That's just being nice. Ahavat Israel is humbling myself and making room for another individual with their opinions that I don't agree with. And they also have a place in the world. And they can also share the room with me even though I don't agree with their opinion. That's Ahavat Israel. That I'm opening my arms and accepting. Now, I will accept you. How many times you walk in the street and a person turns to you, excuse me. They just say, excuse me, right away 50% is like, oh, what does this guy want now? Right away you're already thinking of the answer you're going to tell him if he says, I need some money. Or if I needed guidance or help. Very few people, when somebody approaches them on the street, they're like, how can I help you? I can't believe it, I have an opportunity. Some people, they go after another person. They see a person going like that. Can I help you? You look lost. The reality is that most people, when they get approached, they're like, oh, that's the motion. Oh. You see a phone call of this annoying person. Oh, I don't want to answer. Tell him I'm not home. That's not Ahavat Israel, because I'm not making space to another person. If the Kadosh Baruch Hu is sending me an individual with a request, it means that that's the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and Hashem wants me right now to humble myself, to put my needs aside and to say, yes, how can I now make room for you? And the reality is that in most cases, this is the key to my salvation. We just don't understand that. We just see it as an annoying situation. Oh, he comes to annoy me again. This person is going to come now and again, ask me to help him do this, or ask me to do that. Now again, there's a fine line where you can be a doormat of somebody. I'm saying now in a very general term. Of course, there are situations that you need to know, okay, there's a gvul, there's a line where you don't cross. This is the hours where I don't go out of myself. The point to take from that is that in order for me to be able to tolerate another person, it's one of the biggest mitzvot, because we are in exile because of sinat chinam. We can blame it on many other things. We can blame it that there's a lot of sins going on, and gay parade, and Hashem Yirachem, and yeah, you can point fingers on many things. That's not necessarily the reason. I'm sure Hashem is not happy with all these things. But the main thing that Hashem is not happy with is sinat chinam. That I cannot tolerate another person because he's different than me. And the second Bet HaMikdash was destroyed because of sinat chinam, which means we have to repair it. And that's why I said in the story of Purim, the hint of how to get us out of exile, first out of my own exile. I'm in my own exile. If I have challenges, doesn't matter what are my challenges, I'm in my own exile. And especially if I have lack of happiness, then I'm in serious exile. Because if I'm not in exile, if I have my own spiritual freedom, I'm not going to be depressed or sad, or I'm constantly going to be happy, it doesn't matter how big my debts are. Because I'm not stuck in my own exile. Needless to say, I want to get out of the general exile. And the hint is, I told you, Shabbat, which corresponds to Mikra Megillah, charity corresponds to Mishloach Manot, to Matanot Levyonim. We're going to skip one. Mikra Megillah, Mishteh is Shabbat, and then we have the Matanot, the Mishloach Manot and the Simcha, that these are the hard ones. But this is the trick to go out of my own exile. And the only way of doing it is to humble myself. And if I work on myself to humble myself, then any bad situation that happens to me, I will accept it more. I will say, okay, that's the situation. I tried for several months to find a job and I didn't get a job. That's the will of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Probably Hashem wants me to pray more. Probably Hashem wants me to have more bitachon, to have more trust in Him. A miracle will happen. Maybe Hashem just wants me now to be living on a very small budget and to concentrate on many other things. This analogy can only happen when you're very, very humble. If you're not humble, then you start resisting everything that happens. Needless to say, you're not going to accept other people. You're not going to stand other people. Because you're going to think that you deserve much more than that. So the trick for that, when I stand in front of this huge question, how does the Torah expect me to have Ahavat Israel and not to have Sinat Chinam? And how the Torah is expecting me to be constantly happy? The shortcuts, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's to find the place where my ego is out of control and to put it under control. And one of the places to recognize is when I think that I'm in control. I have to chant in my mind, I'm not in control. I wake up in the morning right now, I have to do what I have to do. When we say Birkat Hamazon, we say two very powerful things. Hazan v'amefarnes lakol. Hazan is the one who feeds us, the mefarnes is the one who gives me sustenance. Animals don't have depression, and animals don't have stomach problems with digestion, what is called ulcus, which is an infection in my stomach, because they don't have stress. Why? Because they know that the Kadosh Baruch Hu will give them food and they'll have where to stay. And animals don't stress out. I did not ever see a cat on the street, oh my God, oh my God. You don't see animals that are stressed out. And you don't see animals that are worried. And you don't see animals that are depressed. Animals, they operate. Because they have 100% trust in the Kadosh Baruch Hu. It doesn't mean that they have food every day. Some of them you see, the animals, they're stray, walking in the street. But they don't have this concept. We have the concept of being stressed. How am I going to pay my bill? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And my stress and my lack of confidence causes the deficit in my ability. If I have 100% confidence in the Kadosh Baruch Hu, 100%, I'm not talking about 90%, everything will come at the right time, the money will show up, the bills, everything will get paid. That's if I have 100% trust in the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And that's when I see the miracles happen. But I put myself under stress because of lack of trust in the Kadosh Baruch Hu, then I cause the situation. So I cause the situation, I distance myself from God, then I will create the financial problem, because Hashem says I need the miracle to be dressed in nature. The check is not going to come off from the sky like that. It has to be dressed into nature. Make a place for it. Create the vessel. I'll put the miracle, don't worry. But unfortunately we have a severe lack of trust in the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So I put myself in this situation. And all this boils down from the same place of an ego. And I know most people don't like hearing it, but the reality is when I work on myself, I try to recognize in me what is the part that makes me think that I'm in control. And that's where I uproot it. And when I uproot it, that's when there's a room for the miracle to get dressed in. So the point I want to take from that, and that's what should carry us till the days of Purim, because on Purim is the Black Friday. On Purim, when I put my mask on, one of the reasons why we get dressed up in Purim, because the mitzvah says that I have to drink, to be drunk, to a point that I don't recognize the difference between the wicked Haman and the righteous Mordechai. So therefore we drink a lot. One of the reasons why we get dressed up in Purim is for the same reason. So not to say to differentiate between the evil and the good. But really, if I want to look at it in a more deeper way, why do I dress up on Purim? And there is a concept, there is an Indian. It's good to get dressed up. I know many people say, it's childish. The reason why I get dressed up on Purim, because I'm allowing myself to be whoever I want, and I don't pretend to be who I'm not. Because all day long, throughout the year, I pretend I'm something I'm not. That's the reality. And again, it comes from my ego. I will pretend that I'm nice. I will pretend that I'm smart. I will pretend that I'm courteous and hospitable. We're pretty fake. And I'm not saying it chas v'shalom to hurt anybody, but the reality is that if I look at myself, I like looking at myself in the mirror because I see how I look. I mean, I'm looking all the time there. I see how you look. I don't see how I look. And it's a very good practice to look in the mirror and to look at myself and to see my shape. How do I look? Because now I can recognize how people see me. I see people, I don't know how people see me. And what you learn from that, and that's the sad truth, that we're pretty fake. Somebody comes up to you in the street, hi, how are you? And in your head you're like, I can't stand her. That's the reality. And so many situations, I'm so fake with myself that I pretend. And the reality is that comes from ego, because I'm not allowing myself to be myself. Very few people really allow themselves to be themselves. And Purim allows me to be myself because I can hide behind a costume. So all year round, I'm hiding behind a costume. Once a year, Hashem is telling me, stop pretending. Be yourself. Now, if I can be myself throughout the year, then I can kill my ego. And I can only do it with myself. It's hard to do it with somebody else, but I can be fake with myself. And therefore, we get dressed up in Purim. Be yourself. Be a little bit stupid and foolish and do some acts that you would not do throughout the year. And the point is that I want to benefit something out of this energy that's going to happen very soon. Because a very special godly light comes to the world. And it's a Black Friday, literally an opportunity to grab it. And I grab it by observing the holiday, by listening to the Megillah, by fasting before that in the fast of Esther. Even though I don't feel like fasting, I fast. This year I'm going to be fasting on a plane. It happens to be that my flight back is on Ta'anit Esther, which is not convenient to fast on a plane. But it's part of the preparation. I'm fasting, I'm humbling myself to accept this unbelievable godly light. Because the light that comes down on Purim comes from such a high place. We mentioned it already. It comes from above descending chain. Me'al seder ishtalshelut, the light that comes to us on Purim. So I fast before that to prepare myself. So I can kill all this yeshut, all this ego. Comes the time to listen to the Megillah, I sit like that. You know, if I missed one word, I wasn't yotzei in Kriyat Megillah. I have to listen. And I have to prepare the Mishlochei Manot and have money with me for Matanot Levyonim. And I have to do it, I have to take it serious. But it will work out if I prepare myself. So I have 2 weeks to prepare myself by working on myself, by saying, stop being fake. Don't be fake with yourself. Don't be fake with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Don't be fake with other people. I know it sounds harsh, and people say it's you're embarrassing me, chas v'shalom, or you're humiliating, or you're hurting my feelings. I'm not hurting anybody's feelings. I'm talking about myself. I'm looking in the mirror every day, and I say to myself, don't be yourself. Be yourself. Don't lie to people. Don't be fake to people, because you're pumping up your ego that you're something that you're not. And the ego is the power that comes to convince you that you're something that you're not, or in other words, that you are in control. And I'm not in control. I'm completely not in control. That's why when we start praying to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, we bow, because I'm nothing. And that's why we say, if you notice, in Tfilat Shmona Esrei, what do we say right in the beginning? Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. Why do we say that? Why don't I say Elokei Moshe, or Elokei Aaron, or David, or Shimon? They're also pretty big guys. Why not? Why am I saying Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Avraham? Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Because they were the ultimate chariot. They are called the Merkava, Maseh Merkava. Why? Because they were humble. They humbled themselves to such a level that they became a chariot to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Avraham Avinu says, "Avani afar ka'efer." I'm nothing. So they were so humble, they were able to become a vessel for the Kadosh Baruch Hu to get dressed in them. And that's why when I start my prayer, I start by saying, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, I want to arouse their power of being humble, so I can now be humble and pray in front of the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So first thing that I do is I bow, I humble myself. By saying, now you are in control. All the control is the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And the more control you give to Hashem, the more He operates. The more you take control from Hashem, then He says, okay, let's see you do it by yourself. You want to do it by yourself? Do it by yourself. You want me to do it? Then just humble yourself. So my trick is to analyze where my ego is making me think that I'm in control. And that's the fakeness, because my ego will present the situation in a fake way. And by that, I'm able to pinpoint and say, okay, here is what I need to uproot. I need to uproot, we mentioned before in the last class about Purim, that the story of Purim is in me. In me there's a king Achashverosh, and in me there's a Haman, and in me there's a Mordechai, and in me there's an Esther. We mentioned that last class. I have to kill the Haman in me, the Klippa, the Amalek in me. That's my ego. Amalek is the wind, Ruach. Comes and makes something out of nothing. That's the ego, that's the yeshut, that makes me feel something. And I have to uproot it. Limchot et zecher Amalek. This is what we do on Purim. We cut the memory of Amalek. And that's what I want to do. And that's the secret that lies in these two mitzvot. And when I'm able to do that, I can guarantee to you, you're going to have a lot of tolerance to many people, a lot of Ahavat Israel, and you will be able to put a smile on your face in those tough situations. There are challenges in your life, because you say the challenge is the challenge. Me being happy is me being happy. One has nothing to do with the other. One has nothing to do with the other. And when I humble myself and I'm accepting the Yisurim, the hardship, with the smile, the Yisurim, the hardship, they disappear. The hardship is there and the challenges are there because I give them importance. Instead of me humbling myself, the same thing with Ahavat Israel. How can I tolerate another person? Is by making space for him. Here, come, share the bed with me, share the room with me, share the universe with me. So the whole point here is to find within me the place that I can pop the bubble of the air and to be able to accept everything, and that's how I'm able to make Hashem dress into this world and create miracles. And that's how I'm able to make my hardships and my challenges much less. I'm not saying that we're not going to have challenges. We're going to have challenges till the day we die. Till the last day of our life, we're going to deal with challenges. Look at Yaakov. The second that he finished one problem, another problem came. He finished another problem, a new problem came. And only the last period of his life, still, he came to Mitzrayim, even everything was with hardship. So we're always going to deal with challenges. The point is to understand that the challenges are part of the process and me accepting it and still putting a smile on my face by looking at all the positive things I have, 50% of these challenges will disappear because I'm not going to give them any existence or any power. So the practice, what I want to do in the next 2 weeks till Purim comes, is to recognize in me this part of my ego that is blocking me, like an artery that has a block. What is blocking the flow of the energy? And the way to do it, you can either look in the mirror, you can meditate, you can do whatever you want, but you have to recognize in you what is this part in the ego that is not allowing you to accept the situation and to accept everybody around you. And it can only be achieved by humbling yourself. Look at Mordechai. Mordechai, when the whole decree happened, it says that he wore him a sack and covered himself with sand, like somebody who mourns. This is a way of humbling yourself. So, Bezrat Hashem, we should merit to come to the point that we really know how to recognize within me the points that are my stumbling block, and guarantee that if you prepare yourself the right way in the next 2 weeks and you take advantage of the days of Purim by doing everything that our sages told us to do, there are very deep secrets behind it. And get dressed, come to the party dressed. You don't have to get dressed as Mickey Mouse, just put some makeup on, whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is that you allow with the costume to break the klipa that I have to be fake and pretend all my life. Believe it or not, being a little bit goofy for one day or being dressed a little bit different, it allows you to break this klipa of... So Bezrat Hashem, we should celebrate Purim very soon. It should happen with Mashiach already. All I can wish for you for the next 2 weeks when I'm absent is so we can really work on ourselves and get ready for the time of Purim. And time of Purim is coming in the month of Adar next week. Is the month of Simcha, of laughter. We're going to have to delay our Adar class to when I come back, but the emotion of Adar is laughter. It's not necessarily happiness. If you remember from our classes about the months, there's always a certain sense. The sense of Adar is laughter, it's tzchok, but there are 2 levels in tzchok. There's tzchok that comes from a very low place and from a very external place. This is called leitzanut. This is not a good thing. But there's also a tzchok, a laughter that comes from a very deep place, and that comes from a very high level. And that's the laughter within me. Because a person can be extremely sad or upset or a big thing. A good joke that puts him in stitches changes the situation. Laughter, when it comes from within, can sweeten and change everything. It's a good thing to hear a few jokes every day or to look at something that makes you really laugh. To laugh for 2-3 minutes, but real laughter. For the month of Adar, the power is laughter. Tzchok. But it has to come from Kedusha, not from the leitzanut, from being silly and from nonsense. This is not a healthy thing. This is something we have to actually to push away ourselves from like Rabbi Akiva says, leitzanut vekalut rosh motziim et ha'adam min ha'olam. Leitzanut is like clownness, of doing nonsense. And kalut rosh is when you let go and you... Kalut rosh is like, chas v'shalom, getting drunk for no reason and getting high and stuff like that. It makes a person lose his world. So the month of Adar is a very special month to be able to reveal this inner laughter in me. Because what we want to do is we want to be happy. This is what drives us, is this happiness. And the happiness is not if I have a nice car, or if I have a beautiful dress, or if my house is gorgeous. That's not real happiness. That's a very, very fake, very subtle happiness. The real happiness that inside, I have this excitement in me. This comes in the month of Adar. It's a very special month. So Bezrat Hashem should have a beautiful Shabbat and a beautiful Rosh Chodesh on Sunday and Monday, and have a beautiful uplifting preparation for Purim. And the next time we meet, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to take advantage of this beautiful holiday. And from the month of Adar, we go into the month of Nisan, the month of Geulah, and Bezrat Hashem, we should be redeemed and be out of this exile with our hard effort and hard work. We should celebrate already Purim and Pesach with Mashiach Tzidkenu very speedy in our day. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of the next 2 weeks.